3 Mile Island shut down in about 1 second. Fukushima shut down before the wave even arrived. Both of them melted anyway, because a nuclear reactor has no off switch. 3 Mile Island, 1979, 4 in the morning. Something goes wrong out in the cooling circuit. The reactor trips and the control rods drop. Shutdown took about 1 second. From that moment, nobody was deliberately splitting a single atom of uranium. 5 hours later, half the core had melted. So, if the reaction had already stopped, what melted it? The answer is the single most important fact about nuclear power, and almost nobody outside the industry knows it. A reactor does not have an off switch. It has a volume knob, and the knob only goes down to about 7%, where it sticks for days. Here is what a reactor actually does. A neutron hits a uranium atom and splits it. That split releases heat and a couple more neutrons, which go on to split more atoms. That is the chain reaction, and it is genuinely easy to stop. The control rods are made of stuff that swallows neutrons. Drop them in, and within 2 to 4 seconds, there is no chain left. But look at what the reaction leaves behind. Splitting a uranium atom does not just release energy. It leaves 2 smaller atoms in its place. And those fragments are wildly unstable, radioactive. And a radioactive atom does not care in the slightest what the control rods are doing. It decays on its own schedule, and every single decay dumps a little more heat into the fuel. You can stop splitting atoms whenever you like. You cannot tell the wreckage to stop being radioactive. After a year of running, a core is packed with those fragments. So the instant you shut it down, the fuel is still making about 7% of full power. An hour later, 1.5%. A day later, under 0.5%. A week later, 0.2. It drops fast, and then it simply keeps going for years. 7% sounds like nothing. It is not. A big power reactor runs at around 3,000 megawatts of heat. 7% of that is 200 megawatts in a machine you just switched off. Picture an electric stove ring. Knob at 0, nothing going in, still glowing orange. That is a reactor, except the ring is worth 200 megawatts, and it takes years to stop glowing. Which means the most important machine at a nuclear plant is not the reactor. It is the pumps. Water has to keep moving through that core, carrying the leftover heat away for days. Pumps need electricity, and the plant has just tripped, so it is not making any. It runs on the grid, and if the grid is gone, on diesel generators. March 11th, 2011, 2:46 in the afternoon. The largest earthquake in Japan's recorded history hits, and at Fukushima Daiichi, Units 1, 2, and 3 shut themselves down automatically, exactly as designed. That part worked. 41 minutes later, a 50-foot wave came over the seawall and drowned 12 of the 13 backup generators. So now you have a core that has been off for a full hour, still producing 22 megawatts of heat in Unit 1 and 33 megawatts in Units 2 and 3, and nothing left to push water through it. The water already in there did the only thing it could do. It boiled. About 3 hours after the shutdown, the water level reached the top of the fuel. Then it kept falling. Uncovered fuel climbs past 2,200 degrees, and at that point, the zirconium tubes holding the fuel start tearing oxygen straight out of the steam. What is left over is hydrogen. Unit 1 made over 600 pounds of it. That hydrogen is what you watched explode on television. And there is the whole idea. Those explosions were not nuclear. That reactor had been shut down for a day. It was hydrogen from a chemical reaction driven by heat that nobody could switch off. Stopping the chain reaction is the easy part. Both of these reactors stopped exactly as designed and melted anyway, because you cannot stop the heat. Chernobyl is the exception worth naming. That one genuinely was a runaway reaction during a badly handled shutdown, and it is why everybody pictures a reactor exploding. But even Chernobyl was not a nuclear explosion. Reactor fuel is 3 to 5% uranium-235. A weapon needs over 90. And a bomb has to hold its material squeezed together for a few millionths of a second while the reaction multiplies. A reactor core shoves itself apart long before that. Chernobyl was steam, then hydrogen. Fukushima was hydrogen. Wrecked buildings, not detonations. And the heat does not stop when the fuel comes out of the reactor. A used fuel assembly is still making around 10 kilowatts of heat per ton a year after it leaves the core, and about 1 kilowatt a ton 10 years after that, which is why used fuel sits underwater in a pool for 10 to 20 years before anybody moves it anywhere. That pool is not a parking space. It is a cooling system that happens to look like a swimming pool. So the next time you read that a reactor is being restarted to power a data center, the impressive engineering is not switching it on. Anybody can start a fire. The hard part, the part that decided every accident in this story, is that you can never quite put it out. One complex idea made simple every week.